Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Season 2 of the Daffodil Diaries podcast with the SFU Canadian Cancer Society. I'm one of your hosts, Sophie Manio, and marketing co-lead of the SFU Canadian Cancer Society.
And my name is Rhea and I'm your other co-host for the Daffodil Diaries. I am also one of the co-chairs for the club. In November, we celebrate Movember, a global campaign dedicated to raising awareness and funds for men's health, including prostate cancer, testicular cancer, mental health, and suicide prevention.
In this episode, we've invited Colton Boreen to share his story. He is actually an SFU alumni, and he graduated with a bachelor's in psychology and kinesiology minor. He is a childhood cancer survivor who was diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma at the age of 4. He was told that he might not be able to walk again. Despite the odds, he recovered, completed his degree, and even became an avid gym goer and certified personal trainer.
Growing up, Colton faced physical challenges, bullying, scoliosis requiring surgery, and struggles with anxiety and depression. He eventually reached a turning point when he decided to take control of his physical and mental health through fitness. Because there was little information on weightlifting with disabilities, he developed his own adaptive training approach and shared his journey online, gaining a following and helping others with similar challenges.
In 2022, he received the Terry Fox Gold Medal Award for his resilience, determination, and leadership. And since graduating, he continues to advocate for perseverance, mental health, and overcoming limiting beliefs.
We had such an amazing conversation with Colton and would like to thank him so much again for sharing his story and touching base about men's mental health. Mm-hmm. We hope you enjoyed the episode and make sure to keep on supporting Colton and follow his Instagram to follow his fitness journey.
It was such a pleasure to end off the month with him as a guest. So yeah, thank you again to Colton, and we hope you enjoy the episode. Thank you so much, Colton, for being here with us today. So yeah, how's your day been? What have you been up to? What are you doing currently? And yeah, just a little bit of a life update before we begin the questions.
I'm doing decent. I worked a night shift last night, so a little sleepy. But just had some pizza and ready to go.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Mm-hmm. And for the night shifts, you can let them know what you've been doing for the night.
Yeah, yes. I'm a Vancouver police dispatcher. So with dispatch, it's a bit different. You start call taking when you start off with the organization. That's where you're taking calls from the public. And with dispatching, you're more speaking to the officers and sending them to where they need to go. So yeah, last night was busy. I was on the downtown east side and East Van. So
if y'all know anything about the east side, then so as we've addressed in the intro, we are celebrating Movember, and specifically for this episode, we wanted to highlight men's health, because it's super important, and it's just nice to end off the month with someone that can speak on this topic. So we are so happy to have you here today. Thank you for being with us. Yeah, let's begin with your journey and how you found out you had cancer, what kind of cancer you had, your treatment, and everything that went on during that time of your life.
When I was 3 or 4 years old, I started experiencing really bad pains in my lower back. And my parents didn't really know what was going on. So they took me to a lot of specialists, and they said it was anything from like growing pains to just wanting attention because my sibling had just been born a few months earlier. But the pain became increasingly more debilitating as time went on. My mom was having to run me hot baths in the middle of the night just so I could sleep in the bath, just because the pain was so bad. At the same time, my little sister Morgan, she started experiencing seizures at about 6 months old. So my parents were mostly focused on her, and she was getting checked out at Children's Hospital in the neurology department. So one day at Children's, we were there, and my parents were like, what the hell, we'll take him to oncology and orthopedics, and sorry, not oncology, just orthopedics, get him checked out by a specialist just to see, because I was walking a little weird at the time too. So as soon as we got to orthopedics there, the doctor saw me walk, and he said, something's not right. Send him in for an x-ray, and we'll follow up later. So that day, I got an x-ray done, and then we went home, didn't really think much of it. When we got home, there was a message on the answering machine saying, come back to the hospital right away. We have to talk to you. So what they found on the x-ray was a grapefruit-sized tumor on my left hip bone. So at 4 years old, a grapefruit-sized tumor is very, very large. And it's not great that they all missed it, but they did. And the doctors gave my parents the rundown of what's going to happen. Your son is very sick. If you don't deal with it right now, very high chance he will not live. And from there, I was admitted to Children's pretty fast and started up on a really, really heavy dose of chemotherapy. So I was in hospital for Children's for about a year. undergoing chemotherapy. And my sister also was diagnosed with a very rare disorder. They didn't even know what it was, but something was not right. She was stuck and started regressing in her development. So while my mom was in oncology with me while I was undergoing cancer treatment, my dad was frequently in neurology with my sister at the same time in children's while she was getting treatment as well for her condition. So yeah, it was pretty...
It must have been a lot for your parents to take in because it's for both of you guys too.
Yeah.
And it, in a way, took away from your childhood, a lot of your childhood, I'm guessing too, and a lot of their time they could have had with you.
Exactly.
And they were with you in hospitals, appointments, and stress and financial, just a lot of things. So yeah, thanks for sharing that.
No worries.
So yes, as we mentioned, you were diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma.
Yeah, it's a pretty rare cancer. It usually presents in teenagers when people go through growth spurts, but it's a bone cancer. It's genetic, there is a predisposition for it, but it's also stems from a random mutation. So a lot of people are carriers, not necessarily, and everyone will express that sort of cancer. Like it's very, very rare. I was very on the young side, like 4 years old is very rare to have a tumor for Ewing's and also one of that size, so it had been growing for a while. But yeah, there's a lot of people, it's predominantly in Caucasian younger males that it presents.
Also reading about your background, you were told you would never be able to walk again. Is that true?
Yeah, they just were not sure. There was a very high likelihood that I wouldn't be because what happened with my surgery is they essentially took out my entire hip socket on the left side. So what's left of the head of my femur articulates against just a tiny bit of bone in my spine. So there's no socket holding it in place. Okay. So they're like, he may walk again. We don't know. There's a very high likelihood he will not.
And leading up to this, were you a very active kid?
Pretty active, yeah. Like everything was going normal. Like I would be playing with my friends. There was no concerns there.
Hearing that news, how did it impact you?
I think I was too young to really process what was happening at that time at 4, because you're kind of just thrust into the situation, and every day you're just like, hey, well, it's a new day. I don't know what to expect. I think it was probably a lot harder on my parents.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when they were dealing with the ramifications of the surgery I had, because to them, I know they were very torn about whether this was the best course of action. Because with Ewing's, on the part of the bone that has had the cancer, even if the cancer is no longer there, there's a very high likelihood of recurrence. So I was cancer-free, but in order to preserve the integrity of my chemo and not to have cancer come up again, they have to take the bone out. So I think my parents were very torn on that. But they, I think, understood that it would mean there's massive repercussions on the rest of my life physically with my body.
Right, for sure.
How long was the process between getting diagnosed and then treatment and your surgery?
That's a good question. I think we started chemo relatively quickly, like within a month or so. And then I underwent chemo for about a year.
Oh my gosh.
And then when I was cancer-free, the surgery happened very quickly after that, just because they want to make sure that all the cancer is out of your body and it's not going to pop up again, right? So
that's a really fast process to deal with such a young child as well. And then it's such a big toll on a little child, the amount of chemo and radiation. I can't imagine how much that itself impacted you as well. Even though this happened at the age of 4, obviously you're still dealing with it growing up. Did you feel like you had to grow up much quicker than peers around you or anything like that?
I think because when you're so young, you don't really have a reference point for what growing up looks like. I think I did, but I wasn't aware. So looking back now, if I see other 4-year-olds at that time, I can kind of see that they have not had to undergo the same sort of things I had to, obviously. But at the same time, I was still a 4-year-old. I just loved Star Wars. I just wanted to play Lego and play video games all the time. So.
Still a kid.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And when you were discharged from hospital, you had to go back to school and kind of resume your normal life, right? Yeah. So how was that transition for you?
It was interesting. There's obviously kids have a lot of questions. They're is cancer contagious? I had that one. I had a lot of trying to navigate, how do I adapt to my physical condition while still trying to be active at school and hang out with my friends, and they want to go for bike rides. How do I do that? So there was a lot of navigating that. There's also I had a lot of follow-up medical appointments.
Right.
just to make sure the cancer wasn't coming back, everything was progressing normally. And then also growing up with a special needs sibling, it was also interesting because my parents, their attention was very much focused on her care, which is totally understandable. But yeah, it was just an interesting childhood. Not a lot of people have experienced something like that.
How was it like adjusting to high school? Because that's already like a big adjustment, and kids are mean. So I was just wondering like how your experience was like that with people around you.
Yeah, high school was interesting. I'd say it was more, honestly, the kids were meaner in elementary school.
Oh, really? Yeah, kids are mean.
Looking back, it was never from a bad place, but like it's still, when you're that young, it's very hard to navigate. Like when you're different, when people are asking questions or picking on you a little bit, it isn't necessarily like something you've done wrong. It's just kind of like how social dynamics work. High school was a lot better for that. Like I really kind of made a lot of friends and everyone knew me, and it was a really good experience overall.
Okay.
Did you ever feel excluded with anything, with like sports wise? Did teachers ever tell you couldn't do anything, or even socially? I know you said you had a pretty good experience, but were there any sort of moments that stuck out to you that were negative?
I mean, anytime there was something like physical, like if like they're going on a big bike ride or something, or going for a run, especially when like my body wasn't in the condition, like a fit condition, I couldn't do it. So I was always kind of watching from the sidelines and just like, man, wish I could do that. I mean, it always affects you a little bit in the sense that you wish things could be different. But at the same time, I think even through the whole experience of everything I've been through, strength comes from acknowledging what you have control over and what you do not have control over. In those situations, I didn't have control over it. So you kind of just have to surrender and be like, okay, well, this is the nature of my reality. And then when I do have control over things, like when I empower myself with knowledge and learning how to work within my condition, rehab my leg, all this stuff, that's the liberating part. So it's kind of just like, what am I capable of doing, and where can I push myself, and where can I improve myself? And just also acknowledging, hey, my leg is never going to be normal. I need to come to terms with that. But what I can do is I can make my good leg stronger. I can improve the rest of my body. I can lift weights even if I can't run marathons, right? So
yeah, that's a great mindset. Applies to any part of life, honestly. Let's fast forward now on to your more older years. So end of high school, beginning of college, and choosing your career paths and educational paths and all that stuff. So in high school, did you know what you wanted to do?
I really wanted to go into physics. That was my first choice.
Okay,
That's interesting. Sorry.
That's where I started here, actually. I was in physics. And then first year calculus, I was like, I don't think I can do math for the rest of my life like this.
Exactly.
So that's where I kind of pivoted. I'll go back a step, though. I really got into fitness. Growing up, there was a lot of doctors telling me like, hey, like you're not gonna be able to run, you're not gonna be able to lift weights, you're not gonna be able to do this. And I like lived a pretty sedentary life, and I put on a lot of weight, and I was just genuinely pretty unhappy with where I was, and I felt like I didn't have control over the things I wanted to have control over. And that's kind of what led me into personal training, where within the span of about like 6 months, I started researching diet, exercise, workout plans, everything like that I could consume. And I lost about 100 pounds in like 7 months, and totally transformed my body. And I started documenting my progress on Instagram. And that's when my Instagram, I started getting a lot of followers, especially people with like disabilities. I also have a spinal fusion as well. So a lot of people reaching out about that, because that's a much more common surgery. Like, hey, I didn't know you could also lift weights and do this at the same time. So that's when I started taking a real interest in personal training and kinesiology. So we'll jump forward now to university. After I decided physics wasn't for me, I kind of pivoted. I'm like, well, what can I do? What am I genuinely interested in? And a lot of it was psychology based. Like because of my sister as well with her neurological condition, I was been very interested in that the whole time. Also personal psychology, like what it means to deal with mental illness, what it means to like states of the brain, anything you can think of. And that's kind of what pushed me in that direction. And then for kinesiology was obviously my background in personal training.
Right.
And that's kind of where I ended up.
So you took like a double major sort of situation path.
Yes.
Yeah. Did your diagnosis and your cancer give a motivating push or some sort of inner, what's it called, motivation to help people? Or was it more so for you to personally track your goals, or did it kind of intermingle?
It was both for sure.
Yeah.
Like for me, it's always been a very personal journey. Like I do it because I enjoy it and want to do it. The byproduct of helping other people just kind of came along while I was documenting my own progress, and people reaching out being like, hey, wow, I didn't know you could do this, or this is really inspiring, or I need you to help me with meal plans or workout, especially people with like scoliosis or cancer survivors and stuff like that. And I've worked with a lot of those types of clients, and even just talking with them online, like there's been hundreds and hundreds that have reached out. So that's definitely a motivating factor as well. But at the end of the day, it's always just been because I wanted to do it. So
That's really awesome, actually. Yeah.
I was going to add, I think it's important to have representation for especially fitness because it's such a vulnerable thing to go through. And I think having someone that looks like you online can really help push other people. So I think that's really cool that you got to do that.
thank you.
Yeah.
And a big theme about your journey is overcoming barriers. Like you said, doctors were telling you could never walk, never run, but I'm so happy that you pushed those limits. And you did this not just for you, but also to help other people. So that's really awesome.
Thank you.
You were a personal trainer at some point as well, right?
Yes.
Was that kind of your first career experience?
I mean, like obviously I had odd jobs. Like I worked at McDonald's. I was lifeguard at Splashdown in the water park.
I love that.
Those were fun jobs. But when I was doing personal training, that was kind of like my first, this is what I want to do for a career. And I did it for a while. And I really enjoy it, but ultimately, it depends on how much you're willing to push clients. I don't like the sales aspect of it. Like I'd rather it happen naturally.
Right.
Like I want people to be with the best trainer they're suited for. And I feel like I'm primarily really good with younger males who want to transform their bodies. And there just really isn't like a huge clientele there for that, not something you can make a career out of. So that's kind of why I pivoted to where I am now. So
Yeah, it's a very niche population. Yeah. I can see where it can get difficult there.
Yeah.
How long were you a personal trainer for then?
On and off. I was doing it while I was doing my schooling. So like almost 10 years on and off.
Oh, wow. That's a long time.
How did you discover the things you could do, and how did you shape your routine? What was your routine like? How often did you go to the gym, your diet, and how did you kind of navigate all that?
So a lot of it just came from personal research online. Like there's so many amazing resources. And then just also trial and error, like finding out what works for you. For me, low carbohydrate, high protein diets, my body responds really well to. And then also lifting heavy weights. So that's where I started noticing a lot of improvement. I messed around with like fasting and vegetarian, vegan diets. None of that really, my body didn't respond to too well. Some people really respond well to it, but mine didn't. And then just overall with weightlifting, the philosophy is the more muscle you have, the more calories it takes to maintain that muscle. So just even sitting there doing nothing, if you have more muscle mass, you're going to be burning more calories, which is also going to help with your weight loss. So just exploring that, it was all really self-guided. And then a lot of it in the personal training aspect was reinforced through, I got trained through InfoFit, which is like a personal training school in Vancouver. And then obviously like my kinesiology degree and stuff like that.
I was going to say that should have helped a lot, I guess.
Maybe we should go into like more of your mental health challenges from like childhood onwards. If there's anything you really want to share, I don't have anything specific to ask at all, but...
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it can be pretty ostracizing going through that at a young age, especially because you don't really understand at a personal level what it's like to have cancer until you've gone through it or seen like a loved one go through it. So that can be tough, especially at a young age, because nobody else is really having cancer that young. And then there's also like the mental health component of what you go through and all the trauma you go through that's not really processed until later. especially when you go through it in childhood. And I guess mental health research and resources are a lot more available now than they were when I was a kid. So I didn't really have too much mental health follow-up. And even physical rehab, because my condition is so rare, I'm one of only a handful in the world. There's nobody I can really talk to if things go wrong, or like, what's my future going to look like? Nobody can answer that question. So it's all been very self-guided for me. And in 2015, the integrity of my surgery on my leg gave way, on my left leg, and I was on bed rest for like 3 or 4 years.
Oh my gosh.
And in that time, it was really tough because I was like, hey, well, what does my future look like here? So like I was doing mostly online school here, just trying to get through my degree, but that was really tough because it was in-person classes and I couldn't make it. So just trying to navigate that was tough. But yeah, I think there's probably a lot of people with cancer who can empathize with that like sometimes you don't really know what you're going through until later. Like sometimes depression or anxiety, it can all, PTSD, it all can sneak up on you.
What was kind of like your mindset between being bed rest and like your active side? Like what was that struggle like?
That was really tough because I went from being in the gym every single day to not being able to work out at all. So I was still eating like I was training every day. I put a lot of weight back on. So, and I really felt disempowered because I didn't really know how to get that back. And when I would speak to my physicians or anyone, they're like, well, we don't really know what's going on with your leg. So the best we can do is pain management and just try and keep you steady. So that was a few years of that. And then I just got to the point where I'm like, okay, I can't keep doing this. Like I need to take control of my life again and get something back. So I started rehabbing my leg with just the knowledge of my like personal training degree, outside research, got my diet back under control, and just kind of had to regain the reins. And completely, I got back into like the best shape I'd ever been in just through like a couple of years of effort, just consistent effort. Yeah.
Did it make you a stronger person, would you say?
Yeah, for sure. I don't think I'd be as successful in my current job if I hadn't gone through that. Just because like the stress levels are so high.
Right.
Being a dispatcher or a call taker. But I find after that experience of just like hitting that absolute low, nothing really moves me either way. So yeah, it's definitely contributed to who I am for sure.
Something I actually want to bring up mental health wise, if you listen to our episode with Brandy, she actually talks about life after cancer and how it just it doesn't just stop, right? So do you have any experience with that, like after treatment, after your diagnosis? It's not just, oh, it's done. Yep. There's always that lingering. It's still kind of there, right? So what do you have to say about this?
Yeah. There's always going to be the concern, like whenever you have a weird feeling in your body or like, God, like, is it back? What's going on? If you have like blood work that looks slightly off normal, there's always that concern. And especially with my leg as well, because I don't know what the future looks like for me. Like my leg, who knows, it could give way tomorrow.
Yeah.
There's always that uncertainty. So it's just trying to find peace in that uncertainty. And it kind of comes full circle back again to, well, it's out of my control. There's nothing I can do. Like I can take proactive measures to make sure like my body's healthy, I'm eating good food, taking care of myself. But beyond that, if it comes back or whatever, you just have to surrender to it and just be like, hey, well, we'll fight it again, you know?
We also know that you studied psychology, right? So did that ever play a role in the mental side and kind of that mind to body connection? And yeah, how did that help you navigate?
Yeah, absolutely it did. I think just being aware of like the psychological pitfalls we can fall into. And I've employed a lot of like Eastern philosophical stuff too, like stoicism or like mindfulness training. And I find that's really empowering as well. But it all comes back to psychology and just recognizing that what thoughts are arising in your mind, what's causing these thoughts to come up, how it interties with like emotions and mental health. It's been really important for me personally, just to understand why I think certain ways and how to regain control over my thoughts, because I feel like that's 90% of the battle when you're stuck in something, is just gaining control of your own mind again, and acknowledging why you're thinking the things you're thinking.
How is your social media at this point, and what's the community like?
I'd say it was at its highest, probably 2015, 2016. And that's where I formed a lot of the connections. And a lot of them just kind of carried on over the years. So people still reach out now, see how I'm doing. I haven't been posting as much lately on social media, just because I'm so busy at work and my focus is kind of there. But there's still a lot of people I keep in touch with, and I've moved more towards speaking about my experience doing fundraising and like Cops for Cancer through my work as well. So that's kind of where my focus has pivoted. But on social media, it was just as frequently as possible, just putting out like workout plans, updates on my progress, just what's like going on in my life and philosophy with exercise and training. And that's kind of where it attracted people. And then also like hashtags. If you're hashtagging like the conditions I have, like Ewing sarcoma or cancer or scoliosis, it naturally will draw in those communities. And that's where a lot of those connections were formed. So.
Yeah. You also received Terry Fox 2022 gold medal. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, it was really cool. I saw the opportunity, I think it was just through an email on SFU email, and it was talking about Terry Fox gold medal. And one of my good friends had also been really in close contact with Terry Fox's family, and he lit the cauldron at the 2010 Special Olympics.
That's so cool.
Yeah, he was a great dude. So I just kind of thought of that, and it inspired me to apply, because I obviously have an experience with cancer, and my leg isn't great either. So I wrote about my experience with cancer and how it had affected me, not only while I was undergoing it, but also growing up and dealing with the challenges there. I was really surprised that I was chosen, which was great. And then I gave a speech here at the Terry Fox Run in 2022. It was a really amazing experience. I was really nervous. That was like my first big public speaking event, but no, it went pretty well, and I had a lot of support. So I was really, really honored and humbled to receive that award.
Yeah, that's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think you deserve that platform to speak with your whole social media presence and all the things you advocate for. I think no one else deserved it other than you. So I think they gave it to the right person.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, and also I did read about your interest in Terry Fox as well, right? So you see some parallels between his journey and your journey as well. So you can talk about that if you want.
Yeah, no, I think if you look at anybody and what it means to embody the Canadian spirit, I think he's like the perfect person to represent our country. Just someone who, small town guy, just trying to do the right thing and raise money for something that has affected him and affects a lot of other people. And when you look at his legacy, I mean, it's incredible how much money's been raised, how present he still is everywhere. And even when I was doing this Cops for Cancer event this last year, just you can see Terry everywhere in relation to fundraising for cancer. And just what he means not only to Canadians, but to survivors as well. Just like, hey, you can push yourself. It's not over. You can still thrive within the confines of your condition and limitations placed on you. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and for non-SFU listeners, Terry Fox went to SFU, and he did study kinesiology as well. So there we go, another connection. Yeah, did you want to add anything?
I think he's like a great model and like the embodiment of how much persevering can take you and how it pays off at the end. It doesn't matter where your journey ends. Just the impact that you can make is great, more than you could probably expect. And he probably doesn't expect that like his legacy is still going and running and inspiring so many people, especially people that have gone through similar things. Even like how much he's inspired like all of us at such a young age when we first started learning about him. I think he's like the perfect representation.
You briefly brought up Cops for Cancer, right? So could you talk a little bit more about that and what you do there?
Sure. Yeah. So Cops for Cancer is a 8-day bike ride that starts in Vancouver and goes all the way up to Whistler. You go through West Van, North Van, Squamish, Whistler, Pemberton. Then we go over to the Sunshine Coast. Powell River, then back to the city, but it's around 100 kilometers a day of biking. And all the riders, all the crew members, and all the support staff, what we do is we fundraise throughout the year. And we make stops at like all the schools that fundraise for us, all the businesses, and present them with plaques. And it's just a really amazing endeavor and spectacle that happens. And these riders that are all first responders, they put themselves through hell every day. It's really grueling on their bodies, but they make it happen for the kids. And all of our fundraising goes to supporting cancer research and also Camp Good Times. I'm not sure if you're aware of Camp Good Times. Camp Good Times is it's for people who are either actively going through cancer, have family members in cancer, or are in remission. And it gives them a chance to just go be a normal kid at summer camp. That's essentially the gist of it. But behind the scenes, it's an amazing amount of coordination and research because you have to have their medical teams involved for the kids that are going through cancer. You have to make sure they're not getting outside illnesses, everyone's safe, and then so it's just this amazing effort that kind of accumulates with kids just being able to experience what it's like to go to summer camp as normal. I was able to go there this summer. I went there when I was a kid as well after my cancer diagnosis. So it was really cool to come full circle there as well, where someone who's used camp and really benefited from it, now I can help fundraise for it.
That's awesome.
But yeah, we raised a lot of money this year. I believe it was over $600,000 for cancer research. So yeah, it was really, really moving. I made a lot of friends. It was really cool. Yeah.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, I know we work very closely with Camp Good Times. I know we promote it as well.
What was it like? What was your process in your mind going back as an adult and kind of seeing again like the heavy lifting that you don't see as a kid as well?
Yeah, I guess when you're a kid, it's just I'm here having fun, and there's camp counselors or whatever, and their adults are just making sure everything's good. As an adult, you can realize the amount of effort that goes in and planning and coordination at every level. And you also see it from the kids' perspective. They work really, really hard to make sure that the kids are not focused on their cancer or treatment, and it's brought up as little as possible unless it just has to be for whatever reason. And I think that's so important and not something that I necessarily realized when I was a kid, that I wasn't there as a child with cancer or who had just survived cancer. I was there as just a child having fun. And I think that's the whole foundation and premise of it. So.
And like you said, your cancer is like a rare form for your age. So like having other kids that are going through similar aspects must have helped quite a bit, especially not having anyone to talk to or like finding an outlet.
Yeah, no, just having that connection. And even beyond that, it's just nice to be able to have a connection with a kid.
Yeah.
Right? So. Yeah.
If you want to work with them, you can volunteer. There's opportunities for you to volunteer. Yep. I know there's been previous members of our club that have joined and went there for the summer. So cool. Amazing opportunities. And you've also been involved with Relay for Life as well.
Yep.
You have been relaying for how long now?
With SFU for 2 years. So I've spoken to the last 2 events. And I'm really honored you guys keep asking me to come back, which is cool.
Oh, of course, yes.
It's a really amazing event. You guys do a lot of really good work here too.
We want to tie everything back to your whole stance on defying barriers. What could you tell our listeners?
Yeah, I think whenever you go through cancer, or have limitations placed on you, it's natural to want to kind of break free from that. And like we talked about, I think true freedom and liberation kind of comes through understanding what you have control over and what you don't. So we're never going to be not someone who's had cancer. That's always going to be a part of us. And just coming to terms with that and what that means and making peace with that. While still being like, this doesn't have to be the rest of my life. Where can I thrive? What can I do to utilize my experience to not only empower myself, but to empower others? And just acknowledging that is kind of what it's all about, and I think where peace lies.
I think going based off of that, how did you find your identity growing up outside of this diagnosis? Because again, your diagnosis doesn't define, doesn't make you who you are. It's just something that's a part of you. So was there any challenges navigating, like figuring out who you were as a person at all?
I think there's always, it's always going to be a part of you. But I was a cancer survivor, but I was also a dorky kid who likes Star Wars, you know?
Yeah.
And that was always more important to me. I liked hanging out with my friends. I liked eating junk food. I liked being a kid. That's who I was. I am a cancer survivor. But at the same time, like, that's always going to come with me. I'm still just who I am at the end of the day, right? So
I think that's really important because I feel like a lot of people just see, oh, like, that's the person who had cancer and whatever, and they let that taint their whole identity. And it's like, that's not who you are. That doesn't define who you are. There's so much more to you. And I feel like that's a common challenge that I feel like a lot of survivors face, because I think in our last episode, Brandy had said something similar as well. So yeah, I just wanted to see how, like, especially as like a childhood cancer survivor, like, and like when you're going into your teen years, like figuring out who you are, it's like that's a lot to balance as well.
Because so much of teen years is figuring out who you are. So doing that on top of your diagnosis must have been a different journey than just your typical kid. So
much of being an adult as well.
Exactly.
So we're all still doing it at the end of the day.
Yeah. What's one misconception people have about disabilities or like chronic pain or anything of that sort?
That's a good question. I think for me, a lot of it was, like, I always wanted to be active. I wanted to do things, and I was kind of scared to, because a lot of people with good intentions were telling me, like, hey, you could really hurt yourself. You know yourself best. Listen to your instincts and what your body's telling you, but you're also able to push yourself in ways you don't expect. So I think that would be the biggest misconception, and something I would probably tell myself earlier is you're capable of more than you think, and just understanding where to push and where to rest.
Yeah. Like the doctor said, you wouldn't be able to walk ever again, but here you are at the gym. Here you are taking care of yourself and personal training and all that. So I think you embody that statement very beautifully as well.
Thank you.
So,
It's like you have to like analyze, like, is this risk worth taking? What are the benefits outweighing that as well? So that's like another mental battle you have to kind of face.
For sure.
So just to wrap everything up, we would like to ask you, what are you most proud of?
That's a good question. It's not something you reflect on very much until you're asked.
Yeah.
I think I'm most proud of the relationships I've built with others. Whether it's like my close interpersonal relationships with my family, with my friends, with my partner. I think that's what I'm most proud of. And I think when you go through a lot of anything, like a big experience, whether it's positive or negative, if there's a lot of suffering involved or not, it helps you to understand yourself better and understand how to connect with others better. So it's always been really important to me just to have good connections with other people. And I'm very blessed that I have so many friends and family members and people that care about me and that I care about. So
Again, we thank you so much, Colton, for being here with us and to be our second guest on season 2 and to just wrap up November and celebrating Movember on this note. So yeah, you guys can check out Colton's Instagram page. We'll leave that in the description. You can also check out, we've linked the Cops for Cancer link if you want to check that out as well. Camp Good Times and all the things we talked about today. And yeah, you can also read about his Terry Fox Award. And yeah, lots of things to read about for you because there's so many wonderful things that he's been doing over the years.
Thank you for coming on. And just like, I know men's mental health is still taboo or like not very commonly talked about. So I think coming on a platform and actually being vulnerable with us, really, I think I really appreciate that. And it means a lot to both of us.
Thank you both for having me. It's such an honor to be here.
Yes,
so thank you.
Yes, and thank you for supporting Relay for Life and our club for all these years. So
Always.
yes, thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you in our next episode.
Bye.